our April update with a couple of new pickups. Now, I made the mistake, and I'm sure many of you have made a similar mistake. I went to the hobby shop with a couple of items in mind that I needed to get for a project I'm working on, and I drifted into the rolling stock section, which, of course, I would never regret. But I did end up with two kind of unique pickups, I thought, and that is the Norfolk Southern caboose in this paint scheme that matches my Fox Valley locomotive. I was pleasantly surprised to find this. I haven't seen it anywhere before, and I always like when I find things that are unique and different, and that means I have to have it. So I obviously picked it up. And then right next to it is this gondola car, and I've seen these on the real line. They look like, now they're a cross between gondola, a traditional gondola, I guess, and a hopper. So they're I guess they're more used in scrap service. At least that's what I've seen them around here for. And because I have a scrapyard, I said, well, that's something I haven't seen in the store before, so obviously I need to have one. And it actually makes a fairly nice looking loco there, local. So I kind of like the setup of there. I don't know how much weathering I'm going to actually do on them. Probably just enough to dull it down a little bit. But I do like to have a couple of new cars floating around the layout. So other than maybe some light weathering for some road grime and hit those couplers with some rust, that's probably all I'm going to do. The caboose, which I'm going to use as a shoving platform, and I'm going to justify it on my local runs, is by, I believe the company is Blueford, and I don't believe that I have anything from them here. Yeah, Blueford shops. So that's pretty. That was a pretty nice find, I thought. And then the scrap car here is from Fox Valley. So I do have their locomotives are wonderful. And I think this car actually has a surprising amount of weight to it, so I think it's going to track really nice. Metal wheel sets, and those look like micro-trains couplers. At least they play really nice with the micro-trains couplers. So two nice pickups to get the April update started. Another bit of progress for April was the weathering of the Cato coal porters. And I'll be honest with you, this was probably one of the most painful projects to take on, not because of the skill set or because of the material, but because these cars are absolutely beautiful out of the box. They're very shiny, and they run so well. But once you buckle down and you actually weather them up a little bit, they really, really, really shine. So I'm very happy with how these have come out. These are an interesting car to model because they are made of, they're aluminum cars, so they don't really rust, but they do accumulate road grime. So my attempt was to simulate varying degrees of road grime on these cars. And some of the videos and photos that I found, the cars almost look uniformly dirty. Which kind of makes sense because typically these things will get put into a unit train and they're all kind of running to the same place. But I wanted to show some variation in them just because it adds operating, visual interest to it. So as you look down there, you can see that they're all sort of weathered, a little bit different. They all stand out. They're all unique. Also added the glistening pan pastel coal load weathering powder on the coal loads. Now these coal loads are already modeled really, really well, so that pan pastel just sort of brings out that detail. In my very humbling model opinion, if you are modeling a modern coal hauling railroad and you do not own a set of these Cato units, then you are doing coal modeling wrong. They are absolutely gorgeous, and I think they've got them available in Union Pacific, CSX, possibly Norfolk Southern, I think, had a run. There may be others. I think Burlington Northern, Santa Fe. So pretty much your big class railroads that are coal haulers, you can get these. And like I said, these are just, they're absolutely great detail. The printing is very, very nice. Camera may not pick it up, but the printing is really nice and crisp. And once you weather up the trucks a little bit and the cars, they just pop. So very happy with the way these came out. One of the other things completed this month was the Lowhead Dam and the retention pond. This is a combination of Woodland Scenic's Realistic Water. That is the water effects that you're seeing at the top, giving the water some texture and some depth there. Woodland Scenic's reeds on either side, along with some static grass, complete the scene. And I'm very happy with the way this side of the pond turned out. Let's take you over to the other side and show you what it looks like. So this is looking on the other side of the dam. You have the water cascading over. I'm gonna tip that just a little bit with some white to show some of the turbulence in the water. And then you have the hydraulic on the other side where it's sort of bouncing back up and over. Once again, a little more static grass and some reeds kind of complete the lower side of that dam. And then also started working on the scenery side of the yard. Nothing fancy here. It's just going to be some open scenery, no structures. There's a road here that I'm going to do out of, it's going to be a dirt and gravel road. So I used the Woodland Scenic Smooth It just to give me that flat starting point, and then I'm going to take it from there. Did a little more scenery around the engine terminal. I added some bushes and some weeds around the bumpers, and then also static grass this area where the main line terminates, and also my engine storage. I have to fill this gap here, so I'm going to use a combination of foam and plaster and just continue the scenery up to the fascia, and that's for another time. And the area that I have to actually work from is getting smaller and smaller as the scenery moves on, so I'm going to be coming up with a solution for that real soon. If you watched my other video, you saw how we made some icy ponds and some slushy areas of snow in the transition scenes between fall and winter. So you can check out that video to see how I did that. Okay, the last major April update is I finally have some foam core bridges hot glued together here. All that is to get the train track safely from visible layout to hidden staging. And it didn't really need to support the track. The track was self-supporting itself, but I didn't want the track to be the only thing holding itself up over that 2 or 3 inch gap there, and I also didn't want a train to potentially derail on the curve and take a dive. So got that all worked out. The other thing I did, I've been working a lot with these Atlas switches. They work okay as far as, you know, actually getting a train through them, through the points, but they bog down here in the frogs for some reason. It seems like it's a little bit too tight. And I checked the locomotive wheels to make sure they were engaged, in which they were. So I'm not sure. It seems to be on almost all of them that the wheels are just getting pulled too tight. So I've been going in with files and filing that down just a bit. And it's, for the most part, it's been flawless operation. So I'm happy about that. I did raise the yard up on 2 layers of the foam roadbed. Originally, it was only on 1, and that was because I didn't see any reason to keep, you know, another layer under here, and thought I could step down off the height of the Cato track down onto just 1 layer, and that was causing a lot of problems with the ladders. So I raise the whole yard up onto 2 layers of foam roadbed, which is pretty close to the Cato track height, and that seems to have alleviated the problem. And then I've also added the bridge down on that side. It's just foam core board hot glued together. It's nothing crazy. Trains seem to be traveling through it just fine, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. A couple of upcoming projects here. The Water Street Freight Terminal. This is going to go in the industrial district. And one other thing that I found, which I've been looking for, was another MyJack crane. This is going to go in the future intermodal yard that's not even built yet, but I have been having trouble finding these things. So I figured once I saw it at the hobby shop, it's time to grab it and not let that opportunity make its way past me. The last thing I'm working on here is a lumber yard, and this is going to be the main industry in the industrial area, the city part that I've got under construction now. And right now it is just spread absolutely all over the place. And I know my workbench is a disaster area. I think I said in a previous video that I was cleaning it up, and I ended up getting more stuff and just sort of making a mess out of it. Did make a hobby shop run, like I said, picked up some brand new fine brushes, and I'm looking forward to using those. The ones I had were pretty much shot. And I've also got these brushes. These fine tips are great for detailing, and I don't want to focus on them, but it's great for detailing and the fine work that you have to do here in N-scale. But anyway, so that is April, and got a whole bunch of projects scheduled for May. With the weather turning nice now, it's a lot more outside during the weekend, so train time is becoming a premium. So we'll see what we get done, and check back in with everybody at the end of May.